been a long time coming, you guys. This has been quite the month. My coffee looks so milky. I promise you it doesn't taste that milky. Let's talk. Hello everyone, welcome back to my booktube channel. It is time for the October wrap-up. It is the 29th, I think, when I'm filming this. So we have like 2 days left of October and then she's over and I can jumpstart into November because I'm so mentally done with October that I'm just like, all right, let's get started with the next month. So not only is this going to be obviously a wrap up of the books that I read, but it's also going to be kind of like, I'm just going to tell you guys about my reading journey in October because it was quite the ride. Let's talk. Let's chat. As you guys know, I ended September with Insatiable by Lee Rivers, the first book in the Edge of Darkness trilogy. And you guys know I rated this 4 stars. I absolutely loved it. It was, a lot of background on the characters and details that led them to the place that they were at. It didn't do that much to me, but I was very much invested in the story. Story follows Kate and Stacy. Go watch September's wrap up if you want to see me talk about Insatiable a little bit more. Ended the month with Insatiable, and I started October obviously with Voracious. You guys know, you saw my reading vlog for this series. I finished Edge of Darkness, to say the very least, but I went right into Voracious after I finished Insatiable. And here is where the obsession really started to kickstart. I was like, oh wait, I'm actually very much in love with these characters and very much invested in the story. I can't put this down. You follow Kate and Stacy right where Insatiable leaves off. Right where Insatiable leaves off, Voracious starts. This is the shortest book, I think, of the 3. It's quite the roller coaster. I don't even really know how to explain this book because since it's a trilogy and all of the books blend into each other, I can't remember what events happened in which book. So, especially because of how long Restitution is. But all I know is that the way this book ended, to me, Insatiable's cliffhanger wasn't that bad. This one was excruciating. This one was really bad. So I immediately picked up Restitution. And here, I had fallen in love with the characters in Insatiable, but here this is where the emotional attachment really solidified. I was like, oh, okay, I don't know how to move on from these characters, from this plot line, from the side characters, from the character arcs, from the plot development. I don't know how to move on from this because this book broke me. I did not cry reading Insatiable. I did not cry reading Voracious, but I bawled my eyes out reading Restitution. I don't want to tell you guys too much about each of the books just because I did a whole reading vlog for this. Let me just tell you, this one right here, this one was my favorite. I said I rated Insatiable 4 stars. Voracious was 4.5. Forget 5 stars for Restitution. This became a new god tier. New god tier. I fell so in love. The writing is perfect. The characters are amazing. My heart broke in a million trillion pieces for Kate and Stacy individually and for them together. Their story was so excruciatingly heartbreaking, but also so beautiful. It is one of the best love stories that I've read this year, but it's also just the most intense, heartbreaking plot line ever. These characters struggle so much, but they love each other so much. I can't talk about it too long because I will start crying thinking about it too much. But she was a god tier. She was a god tier. I even dressed for the occasion. I have thought about this book since I finished it, and I finished it probably, I want to say the first or maybe midway through the 2nd week of October. And I have thought about nothing else but this since. Long story short, I finished Edge of Darkness. And it was a journey, probably, like I said, one of the best stories that I've read in the entire year. You will be seeing this a lot more, especially when it comes to my end of year videos that I'm gonna do all throughout December. You're probably already sick of this trilogy from how much I talk about it on here and on my TikTok. You will continue to be sick of it because I'm gonna continue talking about it. I'm not sorry about it though. Here is where it gets tricky because while I was reading Edge of Darkness, I was like, okay, I was reading Edge of Darkness on my Kindle. So I was like, okay, I want to try to read both a Kindle read and a paperback read because one of my besties does that. She thrives doing it. So I was like, okay, I'm going to try it too. So I picked up The Rule Breaker by Stephanie Alves. As of right now, in present time, October 29th, I think I'm like 10 or so chapters in. Paperback wise, I got up to chapter 5. I could not read this book. Not while I was reading Edge of Darkness. I genuinely, you could not pay me to pick this book up from how invested I was in Edge of Darkness. So as much as I was like, oh yeah, I'm reading 2 books at the same time, really I wasn't, because I was just Kindle reading Edge of Darkness. But I did paperback read this a little bit. I didn't finish it though. I still haven't finished it because after I decided, I was like, okay, this is gonna be my paperback read, I continued to have that be my paperback read, and then I picked up Psychotic Obsession on Kindle. Psychotic Obsession is the prequel but still sequel book to Edge of Darkness. Technically it takes place before Edge of Darkness, but it was published and it's advised that you read it after. So that's what I did. I picked up Psychotic Obsession. And I'm not gonna lie, since I was Kindle reading this, I don't even know how far I got. I want to say I got like maybe 30% in because I picked this book up so close after I finished Edge of Darkness. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I couldn't continue being in this world and not reading about Kate and Stacy. As much as I loved Arya and Tobias, I loved them all throughout Edge of Darkness. I just couldn't, I was not in the headspace to read about them. I really wasn't. As much as I wanted to be, I just wasn't. So I stopped Kindle reading this after about like 4 days of reading it and then 4 days of not reading it. I was like, okay, I can't do this. She was put on pause, as well as this book being put on pause. So then I transferred this over to my Kindle. I was like, okay, I will have The Rule Breaker be my Kindle read and I'll just choose another paperback because duh. Mind you, this is like over the course of like 2 weeks. I finished Edge of Darkness and then a few days later, I started Psychotic Obsession. Few days after reading it, didn't get very far, was reading it very slowly. I decided to just put it down altogether. So this is like over the course of like 2 weeks, all of this is happening. So I picked up The Rule Breaker on my Kindle. So I was like, okay, I need to pick a paperback read. At this time, I was also figuring out what I wanted to read in November. And you guys saw that video last week. But I decided, I was like, okay, I'm going to have The Rule Breaker be my Kindle read and The Good Girl Effect by Sarah Kate be my paperback read. Because of the slump that I was in because of Edge of Darkness, it like pained me to pick up another book. I just couldn't do it. Like reading was the last thing that I wanted to do. So I was like, I need a book that I know is gonna get me out of a slump, and The Rule Breaker just wasn't working. It was because as much as I love hockey romance books, I have to be in the mood for them. They're not like palate cleanser books for me. As much as I wish they were, they're not. I love hockey romances though, obviously, do not get me wrong. So I just wasn't in the headspace to read this either, so I stopped. And I'm not even really gonna call these DNFs because like I'm gonna go back to them. Like, did I not finish them? Yeah. But I mean, I guess you could call it a DNF. I don't even want to call it a soft DNF. It's like the most gentle DNF you could think of because I'm just not in the mood for these right now and I don't want to hate them. Not that even if I were to force myself to read Psychotic Obsession, I think I would hate it. I just want to enjoy it as much as I know I'm gonna enjoy it because I love Tobias and Arya. I love them so much and I want to love this book. Like I want this book to be, I don't know if it's gonna be 5 stars, but ideally I want it to be 5 stars. I can't just force myself to pick it up because it's the next book that I should pick up. And the same thing with this one. I was like, as much as I want to read this book and also read The Playmaker, which is the book that comes after this one, I don't want to force myself to read this and then hate it and then like be upset that I'm not liking a book, because no one wants to not like a book. I want to enjoy everything I'm reading. And if I'm not in the mood to read it, I'm not going to force myself. So these two are the most gentle DNFs you could possibly think of. I know I'm gonna love both of these. I just can't do it right now. Even though The Rule Breaker became my Kindle read and The Good Girl, that's upside down. The Good Girl Effect became my paperback read. I was basically solely reading The Good Girl Effect. And you know what? I finished it. 3rd book in October that I finished. Guys, I read 3 books in October. And you know what? I'm not ashamed because I read one of the best trilogies, one of the best stories that I've ever read in my life, and I regret nothing. Oh my god, I just whacked my teeth. The only other book, unfortunately, that I will be able to tell you about in full is The Good Girl Effect. This is the first book to Sarah Kate's second gen series to Salacious Players. I'll put a little picture of Salacious Players right here. I finished this series. I love this series. Like, I mean, it's not a god tier series by any means, but it is the perfect series if spicy taboo books are just like a book that you, or a genre of romance that you love, and B, they make good palate cleanser books for you, because these kinds of books are perfect palate cleansers for me. I don't have to think too hard about them. I know more or less I'm not going to become super emotionally invested in the characters, and that's what I need. I just pick them up for a fun time and I'm able to get through them very quickly, and that's what happened with this one. This book's in particular, like I said, it's the second gen series to Salacious Players. Basically, obviously, Salacious Legacy, which is the name of this series, follows all of the children of the characters of Salacious Players. In Madam, which is the last book of Salacious Players, the main characters are Eden, Clay, and Jade. The main character of The Good Girl Effect, Jack St. Clair, is Eden's son. You obviously see him in Madam when he's a kid, and in this book, he's a grown adult. He's probably like in his 30s, I want to say. The FMC is Camille. I did not read the back. So when I started reading this book, I did not know at all that it was going to take the turns that it did. Not even take the turns, but like that the plot was going to be what it was. Camille is a French girl. This book in particular, I'm pretty sure most of the books are going to take place in Paris, just because I'll get to that in a minute. Most of the books I think are going to take place in Paris, but this one definitely does, obviously. So Camille is this French girl. She lives in this small little city and she lives a very boring life. She works at this bookstore. She loves working at the bookstore, but she definitely wishes that she had a more exciting life. One day when she's working, she opens this book and a letter and a photo fall out. She sees the photo and it is a man and a woman, a husband and a wife. And she becomes very like drawn to this photo, to this couple, because she's like, my life is so boring and unexciting. Also, when it comes to my love life, it's also boring and unexciting. And seeing a couple so in love in this photo, it's intriguing to me. So the homie scours the internet and finds out as much about this couple as she can. She learns that the woman slash wife in the photo passed away. She does not read the letter that came with the photo, but the letter has a return address. So she's like, I'm gonna go deliver this photo and this letter back to the husband, back to the man in this photo, so that he can have something to remember his wife. And the man in that photo is Jack. I didn't realize that was going to be the plot of this story. So she goes to deliver this letter and someone opens the door and is like, are you here to interview for the new nanny position? And she's like, nanny position? The homegirl gets roped into interviewing to be the nanny of Jack's daughter, Beatrice, but B. So it's single dad nanny, but also like widow single dad, not just like a single dad who like got divorced, or a single dad who like, you know, the wife split or anything, or the mother split. No, he's a widow. She's the little girl's nanny. And it also obviously has that spicy taboo element because Jack also owns a sex club. So for that whole part of this series, in Salacious Players, it's mentioned that the same kind of club that they had in California was opened in multiple locations throughout the world. And there was one in Paris. And Jack, as well as a few of the other children, I say children, but they're fully grown adults at this point. At one point, these kids were just working at this club. Now they're being handed the club. Like, they're just like, you're gonna run this club on your own. You're gonna own this club. There's a whole plot line there of them trying to figure out how to work successfully together, how to run this club successfully together, how to make this club their own and not just a copy and paste of Salacious, and how to actually like fall in love with the business and like the club itself rather than just like doing it to do it. So there's that whole plot line as well on top of the romance plot. This book really surprised me. I don't truly know how I felt about it because it was kind of a lot. There were some parts of this book that kind of like, I wouldn't say pissed me off, but they kind of like irked me a little bit. The situation going on between Camille and Jack is very complicated because, again, his wife's name was Emmeline. She didn't just, you know, they didn't just get divorced. They didn't just break up. Like, she passed away, and like very suddenly and very tragically after she had had a child. It was very early on in their marriage as well. So like, it's a very delicate situation to deal with. And I do think that it was done really well in this book. The only thing that irked me is that I just wish the characters communicated with each other a little bit more throughout the book and not just towards the end, because of how complicated the situation is. Because it was very clear that Jack was in love with Camille very early on, and Camille was in love with Jack. Like, obviously they had that like initial physical connection, but they also very deeply cared about each other. And you could tell, especially because Camille became this man's like employee technically, because she was taking care of his daughter. So she got to be kind of that mother-like role for his daughter. So like, not only did he care about the fact that, or he liked the fact that she cared about his daughter, but just him in general, because of the kind of place that he was in after his wife passed away. I genuinely think that this book did what it did very well. It handled the situation between Camille and Jack, and how Jack feels about his wife and things like that. I think it did it very well. I just, like I said, wish that these characters talked a little bit more about how they were feeling about the elephant in the room, which was Jack's wife's passing, a little bit more than they did, because they didn't really talk a lot in terms of that. And that was the main thing that they each thought about in their POV a lot, because, you know, like I said, it is the elephant in the room. It is the thing that is going to determine how their relationship progresses, is how Jack works through his grief and how he ends up, you know, becoming a better father to his daughter, and how he's going to treat Camille in their relationship. Like, because the last thing Camille wanted was to be like, you know, his wife's replacement. So like, I just wish that they communicated with each other a little bit more. But overall, the book was, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a little bit more than I thought I was going to. So I came to the 3.5 star conclusion literally earlier today. So I was just like, I did really love it, but like, did this book change my life? No. Were there some things that upset me? Yeah. But it was still a good time. And like I said, I was pleasantly surprised by the plot line. I did not think that this book was going to get that deep, and it did. So I enjoyed it. 3.5 stars for the good girl effect. I had a good time. Hopefully I didn't spoil too much. So yeah, that was the last book I finished, guys. I finished that book probably 2 days ago. I read it for like maybe 3 or 4 days, which honestly I would say is pretty good, because I didn't, like I said, I read it paperback, which is also good for me because I haven't read a book paperback since reading Insatiable. Like, I read Voracious and Restitution and what I read of Psychotic Obsession all on my Kindle. So I'm going to tell you guys about the book that I'm reading now, and it is, in fact, you guys are going to be so proud of me. I'm currently reading Addicted After All. I'm not reading it paperback. I think that's what I came to in terms of like this series in particular. I was just like, I think I just need to read them on my Kindle so that it doesn't feel as like, it doesn't feel like as much pressure, I guess. I don't know if that's making any sense, but sometimes it feels like reading a book paperback is just like incredibly intense. Like, you gotta sit down and you gotta concentrate. Reading a book on your Kindle is like, obviously you're still consuming the book, but it doesn't feel as like weighing. It doesn't feel like I'm being weighed down as much. So I started reading it on my Kindle yesterday. I'm going to finish Addicted After All, and I'm gonna finish Addicted Calloway before the year's over. I'm so determined. At the very least, I'm going to finish Lillian Lowe's story. Mark my words, I'm going to finish Addicted After All before November's even over. Because I started this book, I was only able to read a chapter because I read before I went into work. Technically, I'm on chapter 17 now. But yeah, we're gonna continue. And you know what? We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it, and it's gonna be great. It's gonna be fun, and it's gonna be fresh, and it's gonna be the best thing in the world, because I'm gonna finish Addicted Calloway. I definitely want to read more about these characters and like this universe of people, because I know Krista and Becca Ritchie have like a good amount of books that have to do with this universe, like with the Addicted Calloway universe, that aren't specifically about, you know, Lily, Lowe, Reich, Daisy, and Rose and Connor. I'll get to that. I will get to that. Probably not until next year. Obviously, maybe even the year after that, who knows. But cut me some slack, because I'm finally finishing Addicted Calloway. But I am struggling to figure out what I'm going to read after this, if I'm going to go straight into Fuel the Fire or if I'm going to read something else. I think I should just go right into Fuel the Fire so I can get the series done, and also so I can be back with Rose and Connor. The loves of my life, Rose and Connor. I love them. I need to be back with them. I miss them so much. But anyway, that's all for today's video, you guys. I read 3 books total. in October. But you know what? November is going to be better. Like I said, it's still the 29th. I don't think I'm going to finish Addicted After All before the month is over. I have 2 days left of October. I'm not going to finish that book in time. But November is going to be better because I'm going to be out of this slump and our wrap up is going to be solid. And then we have a whole month of end of year videos. I think I'm probably gonna post maybe 2 times a week for December, just so I can get you guys all of the end of year videos that I wanna do. I'm not gonna tell you what they are. I think I already told you what they are actually in another video. But maybe I'll do like 2 weeks out of the month where I post 2 videos a week rather than 1, just for funsies, for shits and gigs, you know? So I think that's what I'm gonna do because like I said, I have a lot of ideas of end of year videos that I wanna do for you guys and I'm super excited about it. That is all the books that I read in October. I'm gonna hold up for the thumbnail. You guys are gonna see this. For the thumbnail, I'm gonna hold up all of these books, all the books that I talked about, and you guys are probably gonna think that I read all these books in October. Clickbait. Like I said, those are all the books that I read in October. But like I also said, November will be better. I promise. Also, at the end of November, you guys are probably going to get better quality videos from me because I think I'm going to get myself a camera for like Black Friday or something like that. So be prepared for some crazy quality change at the end of November though. So you will still have a month of terrible background noise in terms of like my AC and my fan and the elements just deciding to say hi while I film. I've had my channel for almost a year, you guys, and I love it. It's my favorite thing that I get to do every week is film and edit and upload these videos for you guys. I love you all. Let me know what you read in October. Let me know how you feel about the books that I read this month. Let's talk about books. It's always fun. Hope you guys have an amazing day or night or afternoon or whatever time of day it is where you are. I don't know what time it is. Maybe it's like 4:30. I don't know. I love you all. Bye bye.